Welcome to Inspiring Insurance. Our goal is to provide value to the insurance industry through real-life experiences from insurance professionals who have walked the walk. You can expect to hear story sharing, top tips, and practical advice to help you grow and succeed in your career. We hope you enjoy this episode's guest. Welcome back to this week's episode of Inspiring Insurance. Today I am joined from Brisbane again by a bit of a Brisbane insurance icon, 25 years of experience in the industry, and I'm joined by Ali Grantham. Thank you for jumping on and sharing your story with us today.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you are very welcome. We're really excited to hear your story. We've had a bit of a debrief already, and I think there's going to be a lot of value to be shared from what you've done in your career of over 25 years. So I'll hand it over to you, and please share with everyone where you started and where you are now.
Yeah, so I started in 1999 as a receptionist. They're now called CA Insurance Brokers at Indooroopilly. And I basically just answered the phones, I cleaned the kitchen, and I was also a broker assistant at the same time. And on my very first day, I sat down with the director of the business and he said to me, "Now, Ali, what do you know about insurance?" And I knew nothing. Not a thing. Didn't have a car, didn't live out of home, had not insured anything in my whole life. So that was at 17. And that was the year of the Y2K and all the, really interesting things. So that was a lot of fun. I just started out answering the phones, talking to people on the phone, doing a lot of processing. We had no emails then, and everything was printed, put in the mail and posted off to the clients, which was very time consuming. Nice big filing cabinets everywhere. So awesome. And then I just started doing quotes on the phone. If people rang in and wanted a quote for home and contents, we had a little thing called Action Quote, which hasn't been around for a very, very long time. So you could just put in all of their details and it would spit out a quote. So I just started when people called in and they weren't a current client and that's what they wanted. I just started doing the quotes. And I think about 12 months in, one of the girls left and she had just a purely domestic portfolio. And I became an account manager at 18.
Amazing.
Yeah. From there, I just gradually worked my way up. I kept being an assistant for quite some time. I left that job and was purely an assistant for probably 5 years, I think, working alongside a couple of senior account managers and just learning from them all the ins and outs of the business. And then maternity leave, as you do, in my mid-20s. Came back from there part-time as an assistant. Obviously, part-time, you sort of can't really work full-time. It doesn't really work. And just gradually worked my way back up to being an account manager. And I'm now a senior account manager with Rivers. So
amazing.
It's been a long journey. It's pretty hard to fit all of it in a little bit of a description. But I started at the bottom. I've worked really hard and now I'm sort of nearing what I feel is the top for me.
Yeah, amazing. Oh, that's a really cool story. And so throughout those 25 years, so you started kitchen cleaning at the very beginning with the reception and a broker support role up to a senior account executive position now. What has been your biggest learning or biggest challenge that you had to overcome throughout that time?
Biggest challenge is probably something to do with my personality. I'm not always the best at listening. So I've had to learn that it's really important in this industry and in my role to listen. It's to listen to the clients, obviously, to get all their information, and to listen to my peers and listen when I'm learning. So if I've gone to ask a question about something, it's really actually listening to the full answer, not just taking a little bit and then running and thinking I can go and do it.
And why do you think that's so important?
Because there's so much detail in this business. It's really important. The smallest thing missed can be a big problem later. So It's really important to really listen.
Yeah, sure. So having to, I guess, understand that that's such a big requirement of your role from earlier in your career, what did you kind of implement into your day-to-day to make sure that you were listening so that those mistakes didn't happen?
Very much detailed notes. Okay. So writing things down. So if you're listening and taking notes and I probably learnt by making the mistake of not listening properly a few times and having to go back and fix things.
Okay.
Yeah, that's probably I learnt from my mistakes.
Okay. Yeah. Great. 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 So really, really good note taking, implementing systems, learning from your mistakes. Okay. Great. So that's kind of a challenge that you overcame. Has there been something that you've learned along the way, which you wish you might have known from very, very early on?
Absolutely. People tell me all the time that your job is just a job.
Uh-huh.
And it's not really until you get a little bit older that you realize that's actually really true. I probably in my earlier years made my career part of my identity. And it's actually not my identity. I'm a whole person outside of my job. And as much as I love my job and I've loved my career, it's really important to actually make sure you're putting some focus on your outside life as well, that you're making time for hobbies and health and all of those things, as well as putting the time into your role.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's so important, the whole work-life balance. I mean, it kind of sounds like a buzzword these days, but it's so, so important in actually maintaining that. How do you structure that into your lifestyle between work and outside of work? What do you do to make sure you have all those hobbies and things still going?
I'm a huge planner. So,
Mhm.
and I'm a little bit old, so I like paper. I love a paper planner, and I like to sit down on the weekends and look at my days and go, okay, well, if it's a day in the office, I drive an hour each way, maybe a little bit more. So, not a lot happens on those days. But on a day when I work from home, it's okay, I can take the dog for a walk in the morning. In the afternoon, maybe I can do a class or I can, catch up with a friend or something like that. It's definitely something I wish I knew when I was a little bit younger,
Mm.
so I didn't have to go back and fix it later.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Fair
Yeah.
enough. You sound a little bit like me. I love writing myself like a to-do list and then crossing it off. Just the satisfaction of putting a big line through something. You're just like, yes,
Ah,
achieved.
and that's actually a brain hack. I
Mm,
love brain hacks, neuroscience, all of that. Um, Ticking things off your to-do list is like that whole gold star moment, and
yeah,
it kicks in your dopamine. I've
yeah,
achieved something. Even if it's a small thing on your list, it just makes you feel good and makes you want to keep doing more. I don't always do a work to-do list. I generally tend to do it when I'm starting to feel a bit overwhelmed. If I've got too many things on my plate, I'm like, right, what are my big three? What are my top three for the day that I must get done? And I make sure I do them first in the morning, because I know for myself, I work better in the mornings. My brain works better. I'm a little bit more tired in the afternoon. So making sure in the morning I do, those things I really need to think about. And then the easier things might be data follow-ups or, those little things that you still have to do them in the afternoon when I'm a little bit tighter.
yeah. Perfect. Have you ever heard of the analogy, the eat the frog analogy? Like do the hardest
Yes.
thing first thing in the day, so that then you have the rest of the day to be productive. Yeah, I think that.
Yes, and that thing that you're putting off because you don't really want to do it. Sometimes there's that difficult conversation or there's something that you don't really want to do. The longer it sits there in the back of your mind, it's actually affecting everything that you do. So you're better off getting it done, getting it out of the way, and then feeling better for the rest of the day.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So it sounds like being able to have that mindset and making it sound like you have achieved something is really, really important to you.
Yeah.
It kind of just prompted me. So let's talk about achievements for a minute then. So 25 years in the insurance industry, what would you say the biggest highlight has been for you? What's your biggest achievement been? Tell us a little bit about that.
Uh, the coolest thing I've ever done is get insurance quotes on a rocket.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Yeah. That was the coolest thing ever. And I ended up losing the client. They had to go to an international to get some cover that the brokerage I was in couldn't do.
Mhm.
But yeah, ringing up people and saying, I actually do need a quote for a rocket. It wasn't a joke. Because a few people were just like, oh no, that there's no way. But
Cool.
yeah, that was really cool. And having to learn all about, what were the flammable bits and how did it work and at what point, there was their fire,
Yeah.
was really cool. In the end, we did insure the rocket launch vehicle, but not
Yeah.
the actual rocket. But yeah,
Oh, how good. And
that was
so,
cool.
and that's obviously quite a unique product that you've had to go and source a quote for that. If
Yeah.
you could give some advice to people maybe newer in the industry when they get those sort of inquiries around, maybe hard to place risks, what would you say to them?
So this business is very heavy on relationships.
Mhm.
So there's a couple of stalwarts in the industry in, say, liability or PI that I know they know their stuff. And sometimes I might get something that's not for them. I know it's not for them, but I can pick up the phone and say, hey, I've got this thing. Where do I start? And they'll go, oh, I know, talk to this person, talk to this person. And then just maintaining those relationships. So, being careful when you are out there getting quotes and things like that, and never burning a relationship with an insurer because you never know when you're going to need them. So, yeah, relying on relationships, colleagues, underwriters. Yeah.
Yeah, good advice. I think it's recruitment, insurance, relationship driven industries are so important. Yeah, completely agree with you. Okay. So let's talk about people newer in their career then, because you're obviously there once. There was a comment made on LinkedIn not too long ago that I'd love to pick your brain on. It was around rookies not wanting to rookie. Can you give
Yeah.
us a little bit of context as to that, and then I guess frame your opinion for us?
I can, absolutely. So it probably came across quite rude when I looked back at it, but it definitely wasn't meant to be like that. I think in our current society, everything is now. Now. You know, you can stream something you want to watch. You can buy something on Amazon, it's straight at your door. You can post a picture on social media, and within 3 minutes, you get that dopamine hit, you know, someone likes it or whatever. And so all of us are used to getting things now. Um, and I think the younger people coming in just don't understand what they don't know and what you need to build that career. And I think that it's, you know, the managers of the businesses and the senior leaders and brokers that need to be educating those young people coming in on it is a process. And you know, we shouldn't expect them to know now, or we just need to pay a bit more attention, I think, as well. Everybody's so busy in this day and age, and sometimes I think the attention to their growth can be missed. And I think it's a really missed opportunity. We've got some really great people. I've come across some, you know, kids in their early 20s, listen to me, with really great attitudes and such drive. And I think it's a shame sometimes when they really don't get that decent, good training, you know, with a plan.
Yeah.
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 So that's really what I meant.
Yeah, sure. And what sort of systems or structure would you have in place for bringing on a newbie in this day and age so that I guess it overcomes that?
I think firstly, starting them in a role that's suitable.
Mhm.
A lot of places now don't have receptionists anymore.
Yeah.
You know, the phones are kind of shared out between a bunch of people, but I just think starting in a role where they're maybe assisting a broker or doing some work maybe in the domestic space and actually learning how policies work.
Yeah.
Or in claims, even learning it from that side, but just starting in a role where they can actually learn, you know, how it's all put together and on some easier products before they're thrown into the deep end with some other, you know,
Yeah.
harder things. Yeah.
Sure. And how would you
Yeah.
kind of how would you map out that first, say, 1 month, 6 months, 12 months? What would that look like for a new person?
I know there's a lot of really good online training resources as well in different products. So I would probably have a list of, you know, a few that should be done. And then starting with things like processing, which is so boring and everybody hates it, but really learning the processing, looking at schedules and checking schedules. I did that for probably 12 months when I came back from mat leave and just sat there and checked, you know, your excesses and all of that. But I really learned how to read a schedule, how to read a wording. You know,
Yeah.
what's the structure of a wording? How do you find, you know, what's covered, but also checking what's not covered, and really just starting at that basic level first before going into selling policies. How do
Sure.
you understand the policy, structure a policy, read a PDS, and then you can go into selling them, I think.
Sure. And at what point or how long do you think someone should be in an assistant role before they are ready to maybe step up and start selling policies or managing their own amount of clients?
It so depends on the person. You know,
Mm,
I've met some that are, you know, they're 12 months in and they could do domestic with their eyes closed.
sure.
So it really does depend. But I think to be in a commercial team, probably an assistant that I would have, you would probably need to have 2 to 3 years experience, I think, to be confident in your role.
Yeah. Yeah, perfect. I love it. I think that's quite common that we hear throughout the industry as well, with people stepping into that sort of role. So that makes sense to me. Awesome.
So hard because we've got such a shortage everywhere. So,
Mm,
people do get rushed through maybe before they're ready because there's gaps and you've
yes.
got to fill them. But the sad thing is, it's actually doing them a disservice because they're missing out on a chunk of learning as well.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. And when you've got brokers that are coming through and they've got that big chunk of learning, what do you think the biggest bit of advice you would give them is to bridge that gap? Are they going to have a lot of self-directed learning to pick up on areas that might be missed why it's on the job? What else would you kind of say they could do?
Absolutely talk to their broker. If they're an assistant, talk to their account manager and say, where it is that they might not be confident so that they can find training for them, and or their managers
Yeah.
really, and also looking out for industry training. So I know we get emails all the time about underwriters doing webinars and things like that, doing a lot of those.
Sure. Love it. Thank you. So there is someone that I want to ask you about, because I see this individual on LinkedIn quite a lot. So I know that you've got a special guest for everyone to meet today, little Lola, the office dog. So is Lola
I
around?
do. She is. She is. If you can pause me for 1 second, I will go and grab her. She's very confused. This is Lola. Lola, the office dog. So Lola is almost 6 months old. She's a toy cavoodle. So my husband and I, Luke, we got married last year. We both work here at Rivers. So we had a bit of an insurance wedding.
Yes.
I've got a daughter who's 18, so there was not going to be babies. So we decided to get a dog.
Yeah, there you go. And so Lola is in the office with you most days of the week?
So at the moment, I'm doing 3 days in. I've got a new assistant, so I'm in a little bit more to make sure she's getting access to me. So she's normally in 2 days a week, so Tuesdays and Thursdays normally. So she's gotten pretty calm. Initially, she was crazy and just ran everywhere all the time. But we had our weekly staff meeting this morning, and she just sat on her bed and played with a toy, and yeah, loves it.
Good. Oh, good on you. I don't think that I could have a dog running around my legs all day. I'd just be so distracted.
She is definitely a distraction, but we have the whole office in on a Tuesday. It's our mandatory day. So there are plenty of people to spend time with Lola, and she loves people. And then we often have underwriters visit on a Tuesday as well while everyone's here. So she gets to meet them as well.
Love it. Oh, well, thank you for joining us, Lola. Well, Ali, it's been really great to chat with you and hear about, I guess, what's been happening in your world over the last, throughout your career in insurance. So I'd love to finish off with asking you, for anyone who might be at an assistant level now, wants to get up to a senior broking position in whatever time frame that looks like, what would your top tip be for those people?
My top tip is to learn. Learn everything. Do your LMI training online. Do the webinars. Any training you can get your hands on, do it.
Yeah, just being a sponge. Day one.
Absolutely. Yeah, there is so much to know in this industry. I think broking itself is quite challenging. There are so many products and underwriters, and you've got cluster wordings, you've got direct wording. There's so much information and so many things to know that learn as much as you can. But the other thing is, when you're talking to a client, don't be afraid to say, I just need to check on that and I'll come back to you, rather than accidentally say something wrong.
Sure. They appreciate you more if you're honest that you don't know something and if you've got to find the answer for them.
100%. Yeah.
Love it. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I think there's definitely lots of value that has been shared throughout this little chat. So appreciate it. Thank you, Lola, for joining us, and wish you all the best, Ali. Thank you so much.
No worries. Thanks, Nathan.
Thank you.